The largest trial in Italian history began today in a Palermo, Sicily courtroom. It had all the makings of a major motion picture. But as NBC's Bonnie Anderson reports now, this was real life, the real mafia.
The accused gangsters were seated in 27 cages along the far wall of the $43 million courtroom. It was the first time many of them had seen each other since their arrest. With almost 500 defendants, 400 lawyers, and 200,000 documents, the trial is expected to take more than a year. The trial grew out of an investigation begun in 1982 by Italy's top mafia fighter, Carlo Alberto della Chiesa. He uncovered evidence of a new, deadlier mafia, greedy over billion-dollar drug profits. 6 months later, he was killed. The state star witness is Tommaso Buscetta, the most senior godfather ever to break the mafia code of silence, omertà. His confession led to hundreds of arrests here and in the United States. Among the charges, murder, kidnapping, and drug trafficking. 5,000 students marched through Palermo Saturday, urging the authorities to continue their fight against organized crime. But perhaps even more revealing, hundreds of construction workers held a public rally a day earlier in support of the mob. To them, the mafia means jobs. For centuries, Sicilian gangs have controlled virtually all forms of commerce here. They are the employers, the owners. Many people here doubt the police will ever be able to rid Sicily of organized crime. The authorities, they say, are fighting more than the mafia. They're fighting tradition. Bonnie Anderson, NBC News, Palermo.
The Italians have built what can best be described as a circus maximus of justice. The trial going on there is the largest mass trial in history. It's aimed at breaking the back of organized crime in Italy. All the trappings, as you will see, are necessary in a country where organized crime is so entrenched and the authorities are so determined to eradicate it. But with the flair that Italians bring to everything, the courtroom sometimes takes on the look of La Scala, and the judges, lawyers, witnesses, informers, and accused sometimes look like they were playing parts in a Fellini movie. In this huge room, built inside Palermo's prison complex and connected to the rest of the jail by secure underground passages, nearly 500 defendants are on trial, charged after a 6-year investigation of the Sicilian Mafia. Given what the room was to be used for, the specifications were clear. It had to have cages for the defendants. It had to have seats for their lawyers and the lawyers of the state. It had to have appropriate places for judge and jury. Getting a jury wasn't simple. The eligible citizens of Sicily were well aware of who was going to be on trial. Important persons charged with operating a ruthless criminal empire, believed to have long memories of who had helped and who had hurt them. Understandably, many prospective jurors wanted to pass on the honor. They showed up frail and ill. But the minimum of jurors and alternates finally put on their sashes of office. The trial here began in February 1986. It will be at least February of some later year before it ends. And building the courtroom was the easiest part.
The criminal trial is always a show, and it's important that it is a show. We speak of a celebration of a trial. We celebrate as a performance. So there are these...
Giuseppe Di Gennaro is a senior Italian jurist, at the moment on detached service with the United Nations.
The public at large. But if that is a good show or a bad show, it depends on the way in which the trial is conducted. And I think that has to be a very good show and has to convince the public that on that particular occasion justice is made and that justice is prevailing. Then I like this kind of show. I have no problem for this.
There was another mass trial, a show too, in the judge's words, in Naples last year. A trial designed to break up the Camorra, the Neapolitan version of the Mafia. The Naples courtroom was slightly smaller, but also built like a fortress, with defendants by the hundred and super security. If the trial is a show and the people in it are actors, this is a role the defendants welcome, says Franco Ferrarati, an Italian sociologist.
Whenever you have a mass of criminals together, you have a kind of a criminal climate created, so to speak. it's a strength they are showing. Look how many we are. Look, we are outnumbering all of you honest people, you know, watching us on your television, your quiet, nice living room. Here we are, you know, and their faces, my goodness, are terrible. No, I don't go for that kind of circus justice.
The investigation into the Naples defendants had gone on for years. Much of the evidence came from informants, from the pentiti. That's Italian for those who repent. Plural pentiti, singular pentito. In American, informants, squealers, stool pigeons. The Italian prosecutors, who are judges too, say they couldn't assemble this kind of production without the informants. Sure, the judges say, some of the pentiti are working out a grudge. Sure, some of them are interested mainly in cutting their own prison terms, but their stories are the only way to bring down the entrenched families of organized crime.
Abbiamo sospeso, avvocato, abbiamo sospeso.
At one point or another, everyone gets involved.
Tutto quello che ho sentito pensa per male, quello che non ho sentito risulta la verità. Più di questo non ho.
Pentiti are not very popular with defendants and not even with prosecutors. It's not an easy or even a safe life. Take this pentito, Carlo Baccio, who says it's no bed of roses being a squealer.
It's very difficult to become a pentito. It was being the most difficult decision in my life. I have some big problem of personal security. I have big problem to find one job. I am always looking for a new house because I don't remain in the same place, in the same city for more than 3-4 months. Some years ago, the police looking for me, and now the Red Brigades are looking for me. And for me, the life, it's remained completely the same.
If you had been at the Naples trial, watching defendants and pentiti, and if you had ever watched Italian television, you would have recognized this man, Anzo Tortora, host of Italy's most popular talk show. Was he there to observe or report? No, he was on trial, fingered by a pentito, charged with possessing drugs and being a member of a criminal gang. It was sort of like putting Phil Donahue on trial.
I was found guilty, sentenced after a farcical trial to 10 years imprisonment plus a 50 million lire fine.
So Anzo Tortora went to Regina Coeli prison. Regina Coeli, Queen of Heaven prison, is Rome's oldest. Before trial, he had originally been in jail here. It had taken 10 days then for Tortora even to learn the charges against him. 10 days is not bad. Italian law says the authorities can hold you up to 6 years while they decide what crimes to charge you with. Today, Tortora is out of Regina Coeli, serving his sentence in house arrest. He doesn't know how much more time. He's awaiting an appeal trial. We called on him in his apartment in Milan.
Io sono un cittadino molto.
I am a very well-known citizen, and I decided to think, how can this kind of thing happen in Italy? All it needs is a pentito's word, the word of a criminal who picks your name, mentions your name. You get arrested with no evidence, no search for evidence. You get thrown to jail like the lowest crook. That's the kind of justice we have in Italy.
It's a country of spies and counter spies. We have it written up in our tradition. Plus the fact that this is a country in which lying is not considered a very serious offense. We never understood why President Nixon was being punished because he had lied. Everybody lies. Lying actually is considered a fine art, you know. Only if you don't have imagination you tell the truth all the time.
The nerve center of Italian justice, as of so many things Italian, is here in Rome. And it is here you get the first feeling of the bureaucracy and complexity that make American justice seem straightforward and simple. For instance, Italian judges. Judging in Italy is the opposite of what it is in America. In Italy, the profession is low-paying and high risk. Take Judge Fernando Impazamato. He lives his daily life, official and personal, in armor-plated cars, accompanied by guards with drawn guns. There's reason. He has investigated some of Italy's most sensitive cases: the assassination attempt on the Pope, organized crime, left-wing terrorism. He's had death threats, and 20 Italian judges have been murdered in recent years. And Judge Impazamato's own brother was killed by the Mafia. The ponderous framework of Italian justice begins here in one of the lowest courts, and the difficulty of getting anything done is complicated by antique mechanics. Maurizio Lupoi, a successful private attorney, says that's a major handicap.
We do not have the technical help that you have in your system. For instance, what a witness says is put down not in shorthand, but in longhand by a clerk, under dictation by the judge. That slows the trial very much, of course. The very system of the interrogation, since we do not have an adversary system, is led by the judge, by the court, not by the attorneys. They have to put the question to the judge decides whether the question is admissible, and if so, he questions the witness or the accused, again using his own words, not those that the attorney had used. That again slows the trial very much.
These young criminals were sentenced for possessing and selling hard drugs. They'll spend about 5 years behind bars. Assuming you eventually get out of Queen of Heaven prison and get a trial and a verdict and a sentence, your judge has several choices. One is house arrest. We don't have that in America. Or he can send you to a Mediterranean island. It's rocky, but it's not a tropical hellhole like Devil's Island. The Italian island prison has a reasonably nice setting. Most cells should have quite a decent view. And nobody said justice requires you to starve to death. Inmates here plan and prepare their own meals. Nobody proposes an ultimate Italian punishment, silence. There's no solitary confinement at mealtime. Television is served with the coffee. A third choice, the judge can banish you. This means you're sent to live in a remote community, far from the scene of your crime and the society of your fellow criminals. It's not jail, but it's not home either. It may be better than home. Bruno's only daily duty is to check with the local police sergeant. Does such banishment, the massive circus trials, the unique forms of imprisonment, make for a better system of justice?
Of course not. Of course not. Surely not in this country.
But some progress.
That I doubt.
Meanwhile, back in the courtroom, the Italians invented opera, and nothing has ever come close to opera for theatrical emotion. Dominating, almost numbing. They may have done the same thing with justice. What other nation would try to match this business? But has it solved anything? Is the Mafia dead? Is organized crime crippled? Probably not.
You see, in the US, the Mafia is purely a criminal organization. Here it is not. It's much more than that. It is a way of life to which the people in the South have been accustomed for centuries. You do not change a way of life by law or through the judges.